So the biggest show in world sports starts in, as per time of recording, 2 days. The FIFA World Cup, North America 2026, the 22nd edition of football's ultimate showcase begins. And there's 10 places for Africa. 10 teams from our continent will be heading to the big show, and the expectations will be absolutely sky high, and the dream and the possibility of one of them bringing the big prize home is higher than it's ever been. So who are these 10? What are their chances? What are they up against? And how much do we believe that they will take us as far as we can? Hi, I'm the Football Otaku, and welcome to this preview of the FIFA World Cup North America 2026 for Africa. I, of course, have a friend with me. I have a good friend with me, Asalih from Sudan, to preview the tournament with me, to preview the group stage with me for all our African participants. If, of course, you're loving the content, don't forget to like, to share, and subscribe, and all that other amazing stuff. And let's get started. First of all, I just want to introduce my friend, Asalih, of course, a football follower, a football fan all the way from Sudan. How are you doing this evening, my brother? And are we well and are we ready? How are you feeling, especially with the tournament now starting real soon? Is the hype building up? Are you excited? How are we feeling?
Good evening, my friend, and it was easy. I'm glad we had this chance to finally make it happen. Of course, Togozi is my great friend that comes on every Monday. We talk about African football, so he's no stranger to me. And I'm actually of course, it's a World Cup, so I'm actually excited. But especially with 10 African teams, it makes it more also interesting. And for the first time, we'll see with the 48-team edition, more African teams. So it actually brings more spotlight and attention. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, of course, and especially with the African sides, there's a lot of knockout potential. I mean, remember, only 8 sides are going to be eliminated. 16, I think. From 48, we then go to the last 32, and when you look at it from the potential, there's so many potential sort of knockout scenarios that could happen. And I mean, I saw some scenarios that could have an all-African knockout tie, and that could be just so amazing for the continent in general, and just that in general, like you said, exposing our football to the greater market, especially with some of the other teams that's going to be there. I mean, the potential for us to do really well is really there, and I hope we can grab it with both hands.
Certainly, that's true. I think this time, for example, we have 3 or 4 African teams that are striving to make great stride for the African continent. I think there's also 2 teams in particular that we'll discuss. I think they really have really high ambitions, and that makes it very interesting that this time African football is there to compete with the so-called elites of Europe and South America. So I think this time CAF football has a lot of respect, and rightly so, especially with Morocco's last edition of World Cup, where they went so far to the semi-final. I think this time certain teams, I think, are kind of going to this competition with a very high ceiling, and I'm really hopeful that they can really showcase it.
Great stuff. And let's get started. Let's get started with by groups, and of course we start with Group A, where we have the hosts Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and Czechia, or formerly known as the Czech Republic. Of course, South Africa kick off the tournament in what has been dubbed the longest second leg tie ever played, as we have us and Mexico at the Azteca. Of course, an epic rematch of the memorable game of 2010, the Shabalala moment, 1-1 draw at Soccer City. We now have the rematch 16 years on, but this time at the imposing Stadio Azteca, the home of Mexican football, a stadium that will be hosting a 3rd World Cup. And I mean, a game that since the draw was made, I mean, the audible gasps in the room when the draw was made was was when people realized what the game we were gonna get. But for South Africa, this is our 4th World Cup appearance. Our first, it's in 2010, our first successful qualification campaign in 24 years. We got past Nigeria to get here, and we come into the World Cup. Well, I'll start from a South African perspective. We come into this World Cup, although we were very happy with the qualification, since then things have been a little bit rocky. Had a very underwhelming Cup of Nations, KO'd in the last 16 by Cameroon, and we haven't won a game since the Cup of Nations. We lost, you could say, lost the 2-game series to Panama, couldn't beat Nicaragua, and leaked a 1-1 draw against Jamaica. So the expectations are a little bit tempered, but this is a very open group, and there's a lot of potential that we can do pretty well in this group. I mean, of course, Mexico, as much as Mexico are the host side, it's not their strongest side. Arguably, this is the weakest Mexican side we've seen in a World Cup, according to some. South Korea, although have the potential, they've got a good side. I feel they're poorly undercoached. And Czechia, they are a good side as well, but from what I've seen in qualifying, they leak a lot of goals. So it's a very, very wide open group. It's going to be a very interesting group. In fact, I want to get your opinion first, Asalih, about this group, South Africa's chances, South Africa's build-up, just all things South Africa in this group and in this context.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree. It's a group of life, as some people like to call it. I think all 4 teams in this group really have a really equally good chance from progressing. And like you said, many teams have kind of like weaknesses in this group. Like Czech Republic, I actually finally got to see them properly in the 2 games against Guatemala and a previous friendly. And I do think they have a very shaky defense. I think South Africa, in particular, if we were speaking about South Africa, I think they could capitalize on some of the defensive mistakes. South Korea as well, a team that's kind of always underperforming in Asia over the past years. Mexico, of course, they're the host, so that adds a lot of pressure for them, even though they're playing in Azteca, which is a very difficult home ground, international football, if we speak about it, high altitude, intense atmosphere. So Mexico maybe might have the edge on that, but in terms of squad, like player quality, is not the same as the previous generation. Like we talk about Giovanni Dos Santos, or even during the 2006 and 10 era of Marquez and etc. So although they have Ochoa still, that's Uncle Ochoa still in their squad, which is kind of a remarkable feat for him and also Mexican football. So it's quite astonishing to see him still around. And I think South Africa, like you said, prior to the World Cup qualifiers, they were looking very good, especially when they were in the AFCON in Ivory Coast. I think Hugo Broos had a kind of a squad that was like, he knew the squad he was going to play with, and it was probably mostly combined of players from PSL, but majority of them, let's say, were from Sundowns, because of the Sundowns were dominating South African Premier League and of course in the Champions League. And then we saw quite additions from Orlando Pirates when they had a good run in the last season. But ever since South Africa qualified to the World Cup ahead of Nigeria, I see a lot of people gave them very high hopes of going to the AFCON. They kind of added a lot of pressure, and I actually I think that they kind of disappointed going to the AFCON. Some games it was very edgy. I think the game against like Egypt, for example, where there were 10 men, I think South Africa could have capitalized on it. Yeah. Against Zimbabwe, it was also a game which was very, I think Zimbabwe, of course, it's a derby as well, but South Africa, with the quality they have, they could have won that game comfortably. And then the game against Angola, which was kind of a dull affair. And then you could have seen in the knockout where they lost to Cameroon, which wasn't the best Cameroon side, which they had also, Pago came as a new coach. Overall it was a disappointing campaign. And from there on, you could see that South Africa went on a sluggish form, drawing against Panama, and then with Nicaragua recently, and then against Jamaica, behind closed doors. And Hugo Broos actually interestingly complained about how this game was televised, and claimed that, I don't know if it's true until now, that Javier Aguirre sent spies to televise the game or not, something like a spy gate, for example. But yeah, I mean, Hugo Bruce is an interesting coach. He always has kind of a lot of controversies, especially in the AFCON. We remember when he compared to the two AFCONs in Ivory Coast and Morocco. But if I was to digress, I think South Africa. The players are, there's some players that some notable players I think that will actually, in my opinion, will actually shine in this World Cup. I think, for me, Mokoena should be the standout. Teboho Mokoena, for me, I think this is a player that, with his quality in Africa, is one of the best, or the best box to box. After his stunning performances in the CAF Champions League, I think it's for him his time to showcase his talent in the world stage. I really believe that for the world, to see a player of his quality, they should really, the spotlight should be on him. Of course, there's a lot of good players, young players like Mofo Kang, also in Apollos from Orlando Pirates. I think he's a very good player under Hugo Bruce in the national team. Of course, most people talk about Lyle Foster because he's the notable player who plays in the Premier League with Burnley. But I do see that, and I do kind of agree. Most Bafana think that he's kind of drags the team a bit with his finishing chances. Look, also Ronwen Williams, a notable goalkeeper. I think some people which follows football globally, they might remember him from his, the Levi Yashin nominee. So I think once again, I hope he can replicate those good performances he had a couple of years ago. Although I feel like Ronwen Williams kind of died, he kind of dropped form a bit, but his quality is still there. I say his quality is still there, but not the same as 2024, 2023, that previous years. He was one of the best keepers in the world, I would say, actually, because that time he was really doing well. Of course, ball to feet, he's very good. He's one of the best in his position, in his ball to feet. I think in the tournament he's one of those keepers up there. So yeah, you think when you talk about South Africa, I think it's a team that has quite good individuals. As a team, they could do better. I think, like I said, during those 2023, 2024 form where they were in a very good winning form, if they could maintain that form into this group stage, I really had good chance they could really qualify as top two. Although I do think still the group is still open. I hope that South Africa could actually within a span of hours they could fix what went wrong in those couple of games. Still, I think this group really is still open. And it's fortunate for them that South Africa, with the form they're in, I think it's kind of lenient that this group is there still in this group. Like if you were saying, if we were to say a previous like 12 months before, knowing that this is the group South Africa will play in this form, I think we'll be all thankful about it. Because looking at other groups, for example, Tunisia, for example, and South Africa was in this form and playing that group, I think it would have been pretty much difficult. But still, I think we should be hopeful, and I'm hopeful that in the opening game they could, at least get a point, at least from Mexico. I know it's going to be difficult, especially in Mexico now. I see from a couple of Mexican fans, they're licking their lips from the recent form they're seeing. But I hope that they can prove them wrong, at least Hugo Bruce and also the players as well. They could give a good game, and from there on, I think if South Africa get a positive result, I think everything is on the wire for them to get a result against South Korea. I think South Korea in my opinion, I think South Korea is the weakest team in this group, if I have to say. I think as a team, but of course they have very good quality players. But as a team, I feel like they're the most underwhelming. So I hope that South Africa could get a result against South Korea, and of course they can nick at least a point from Mexico or Czech Republic, would safely secure from this group qualification from this group.
Most definitely, because I feel with South Africa, especially if you look at the opening day, there's going to be a lot of emotion behind it. I can just imagine what it's going to be like. I mean, I'm already having visions of just how the Mexican national anthem is going to sound on that opening day, just how insane it's going to be at the Azteca. It's going to be full of emotion. It's going to be full of just, if we can just handle that sort of, the expectations, and I feel, and we can sort of get into our groove, we're going to be all right. But again, the altitude is going to be a big problem. The air pollution as well is huge, is going to be a huge factor as well, especially after the 60th or 75th minute. It's going to be very, very huge as well. Again, Czechia, a team that can't really defend. They don't really defend very well. I saw them in their playoff games against Denmark and Ireland. They leak a lot of goals as well. I remember they lost 5-1 to Croatia in the qualifiers. And I think they lost to the Faroe Islands. So, yeah, they lost to the Faroe Islands. So they're a team that don't defend well. My one big concern is set pieces. We just don't defend set pieces very well. And I feel that we, against a team like Czechia, against a team like maybe even Mexico, set pieces is going to be a big problem, because in South Africa we just don't defend set pieces. It's just not our way. And if you look at there's two games that stick in my mind, especially because of how Sundown's heavy. There's two games that just stick, or two ties that stick in my mind about South Africa and set pieces, or balls into the box in general. It's the CAF Champions League semi-final 2023 against Wydad, the 2-2 draw, and Pyramids, the Champions League final in 2025. All 5 goals Sundowns conceded in those two ties were all balls in the area. Balls, crosses, free kicks, corners, all the goals came from there. So I feel that's going to be a big concern for us. That's what I'm probably afraid of. But if my dream scenario would be get a draw against Mexico on opening day, play well enough. Czechia, maybe steal a draw there, get a win if we're incredibly lucky or talented again, and then again South Korea, who don't play well against African sides. South Korea have a poor recent record against African opposition. I think they've won 1 out of the last 4 in the World Cup, and that was against Togo in 2006. And I actually watched that match back recently, and they struggled in that one as well. They drew against Nigeria in 2010, a game I was actually at. Lost to Algeria 2014, and then lost to Ghana in 2022. So they don't really match well with African sides at the World Cup. So if we can beat South Korea, I definitely see us making it to the last 32. And that, if just for South Africa, would be a massive achievement, because, as you know, in the men's side, we've never been to a World Cup knockouts stage before. Our women have done it, of course, but we've never been as the guys. So it'll be such a massive achievement for us. Yes, the expansion as well, but still, just making the knockout stage of the World Cup, that'll just be phenomenal. And then from there on in, it's just, it's in heaven's hands at that point when we get to the knockout phase, and from there on it's just there for everyone. So that'll be my sort of dream scenario for South Africa, my dream situation. And just that opening game is gonna be, I can just imagine that opening game. It's gonna be such a huge moment, and already South Africans online are saying we're gonna win that opening game, or we're gonna beat Mexico, we're even gonna win the World Cup. It's quite insane. And I predict South Africa will probably finish 2nd or 3rd with 5 points. That's my prediction. What would be your prediction for South Africa in this group?
To be honest, if you were to ask me before AFCON, where that good run of form, I would have said South Africa would finish 2nd. But it's a tight group. I think with how equally balanced the teams in this group, I think South Africa could finish 3rd. I feel like if Lyle Foster could get in good form, if Lyle Foster could actually get his confidence, I know he missed a penalty. I think it all lies on South Africa's front three. I don't know who they'll start with. I think Osman Paulus and Lyle Foster and I think South Africa will qualify. I'm just skeptical if they'll finish 2nd. I think that's third best they'll finish. It also depends on as third best, you have to get a lot of goals to score and less conceded. To be conceded less. So if South Africa could actually, I do believe that South Africa would fix their defense. I do believe that the defense is kind of with Ronnie Williams. He's a very commanding goalkeeper. He knows how to deal with his center backs. But it's just, if South Africa could get the finishing touches and the finishing within the final third, I hope that they could get a good scoreline against Czech Republic or South Korea, and then I'll be confident that South Africa could finish 2nd place. So, but I have them at the moment as 3rd place, third best to qualify.
Sure. Thanks. And that is the sort of wrap for Group A. We then jump to the next African side. That's in Group C, and it's the Should we call them African champions? Can we call them African champions? That's what CAF call them. Morocco.
you want to call the story already in Tokazizi?
I'm sorry, that's the legalities of it. I mean, that's the legalities of it. Until CAF come up with a final verdict, that's what I think we can call them. Sorry, but someone has to bring it up.
I bet already one of the two fans here are gonna say, they're gonna close the video and be like, I'm done. I can't tolerate it.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to bring this up. Anyway, but yeah, we have semi-finalists from 2022 Morocco, and they're in a group with 5-time winners, World Cup royalty Morocco, and 2 returnees, Scotland, who returned for the first time since 1998, and Haiti, who returned for the first time since 1974. It's quite a cosmopolitan group. I mean, we have 4 teams from 4 different continents. But for Morocco, I'll start here with Morocco. I feel I've watched their matches under their new coach Mohamed Wabi. I actually watched their game against Norway, and they look a bit of a better side than they did the Cup of Nations. I mean, one of my big criticisms of Morocco at the Cup of Nations is even though they had this winning streak or this sort of unbeaten run, they weren't playing teams of quality. They weren't truly battle tested. And now after the Cup of Nations, I mean, we're going to forget the finale for now, but they looked somewhat, very, very defensive, a team that doesn't really have much up front, but they looked a lot more enterprising, especially against Norway. And I feel in this group that they're going to definitely hold their own. I mean, they beat Brazil in their most recent encounter. I feel they probably have a lot better quality than Scotland, and certainly they're certainly better than in Haiti. So I feel like the expectations are going to be really, really high. But I'd like to ask you, just after 2022 and then of course 2026, the Cup of Nations, how high are the expectations for Morocco now? Are they dreaming bigger? Are they expecting bigger? Just what is it like now, the feeling now with Morocco, with the Cup of Nations and everything that has happened heading into this World Cup, knowing who they're up against now?
I think the ambition is really high. I think most of Moroccans fans, or all of the Moroccans, actually really expect with this national team. I think even, let's be honest, I think this national team right now, they have a better squad, even more experienced players right now. So no doubt, I think the players themselves feel like they're coming to this competition. I wouldn't say favorite, but they know that they have to replicate that kind of run that they went in the previous edition. I think this one thing about this group is I really like this group because it gives me flashback of memories of World Cup, like Morocco, Brazil 1998. I think, was it 1998 if I'm correct? Or was it Scotland?
Yeah, it was 98. In fact, everyone played 98. Everyone. It was Brazil, Morocco, Scotland. Just take Haiti out and add Norway, and it's literally 1998, the remix.
Yeah, what a coincidence they played Norway just like last friendly, so it makes it all like just a package of 1998. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting group as well because you have Brazil and Morocco and Haiti. I think all this Scotland is like 2 teams like Brazil, Morocco. They're coming in as a big number, the big fan base, and Haiti, a big community. Scotland as well, they're very excited to come back into the World Cup. So this group, I feel like it's very lively. You have this kind of like if they're like in a table, like you brought those 4 teams together in a table, you will hear a lot of ambience and conversation. You give them a couple of beers, they all go wild, and it's an interesting group. So I really like it. And Morocco, Brazil definitely are the favorites in this group, I'll say. But I wouldn't write out Morocco, from this group, not topping this group, to be honest. I think I see Brazil against Egypt. Egypt really gave them in the first half a good fight, to be honest. I think Morocco, how Egypt played direct, is similar to how Morocco played this World Cup, direct football on the counter. So, and we see how Morocco in the last World Cup, they were very dangerous on the counter, and how they played is one-touch football, just straight transition. So I think Morocco is a better quality of players individually as well. They might cause problem for Brazil in their first game, in the opener against Brazil, was how Egypt caused. So I'm not gonna write off Brazil, Morocco, if they could get a positive result, to be honest. I think Morocco recently against Norway as well. They really gave them a good game in the first half until Al-Zuzuli came off and Zozuli, unfortunately, I mean, he'll miss the first game. He's a very important player for the team. But nonetheless, I think Morocco as a squad, they really have a talented group of 26 players. I think any of them could start as a starter. And you can't imagine, you can't fathom, like, even some players that are not called up, like Ziyech, Boufal, Osman Mame, who was actually the under 20 best player. He's not even called. He was part of the Mohamed Wahbi's under 20 team that won the World Cup. So, but even though I think Mohamed Wahbi, I realized that he's actually more tactical than Walid Regragui. Walid Regragui in the last World Cup, he came in pretty much late, so he didn't have much time to implement his tactics. And you could see that Morocco last World Cup run was mostly how I'd say, like, playing for the bash. They played more sitting on the counter, like on the defense and going on the counter. And usually, Walid Regragui usually trying to motivate the players, creating this kind of play for the flag, rally for the flag, belling the beast, making the players, motivated. So he wasn't more tactically, more on the tactics, but you could see he could get the job done. Mohamed Wahbi, there's a different approach I could see with Morocco, and I think many Moroccans even say, even the players, one player, he came in, his name is Sufyan Al-Qarawani. He came in an interview, he actually compared, and I actually could see what he was trying to say. He said Mohamed Wahbi actually focuses in training, like, players, individual mistakes, and tries to, like, correct them in training, and then tries to implement his tactics even during game. So you could say, you're basically trying to say that Mohamed Wahbi is more of an in-game management. He tries to, like, focus more on the game, tactical aspect of the game. So I see that Morocco is going to this World Cup more of a different approach. I think Mohamed Wahbi he came in also kind of similar to like Walid Regragui 3 to 2 months before the World Cup, but he already knew the setup of the Moroccan FA and the players as well. He's trying to, like, he brought them to the camp. So I think Morocco this World Cup, of course, under Mohamed Wahbi, a young coach. I wouldn't say inexperienced because he already won the World Cup under 20. So a lot of pressures on him. And although he has a much experienced squad, so you could say he's more spoiled with good quality crop of players, I think Morocco should definitely make it out of this group. It depends who they're gonna face in the knockout round, but I do believe Morocco should go far. I do believe they'll be comfortably like at least 7 points. They'll make it out of this group. If they could get a draw against Brazil, I think that will be surely enough for them to make it comfortably past Scotland and Haiti. But still, Morocco, I do believe, they're the favorites from all the African teams we were talking. If we're going to talk about the African teams specifically, they're the ones that should be going far, very far at least, like somewhere like quarterfinals, I believe. Semi-final, if they can, is with a 48 team edition, is going to be quite difficult, to be honest. But I could see them going as far as quarterfinals, to be honest.
Oh, most definitely. And in fact, I recently was on a radio show previewing the World Cup as well. And I said there's no reason why Morocco could win all 3 games. Yes, it's Brazil, but I look at this Brazil side and there's not much convincing. They don't look very convincing, definitely compared to Brazil sides of the past. Sketchy qualification campaign. Even the whole thing with Neymar, that decision is starting to backfire. So I feel if Morocco can catch Brazil out, Scotland, I feel they've got a better quality squad than Scotland. Definitely a squad I feel that's been, I'm not gonna say together longer, but there's just something about this Moroccan side I feel they can get past Scotland. And Haiti, I feel they can get past Haiti. I feel there's nothing stopping Morocco from winning all 3. I just want to see if you agree with me. I feel Morocco could win all 3 games in this group. I feel they can.
I want to agree with you, but I do feel like Brazil kind of respect Morocco. I don't think going to this game taking Morocco lightly. So I do believe this game could be very tight. It could come down to like little details. And recently, Rafinha actually, before the game against Egypt, he was like, they were asking me, do you know much about Egypt? He's like, we don't know really much about Egypt, but we're playing them because we're gonna face Morocco, a team that defeated us previously. So you could see that Brazil already have their eye on Morocco, and they're preparing it very seriously against in the game against Egypt. And I do believe that, Morocco could actually cause a surprise. They might. I just feel like Brazil with Ancelotti, they might do something, that would. I mean, it's difficult for Brazil to lose the first game in the World Cup. That would be crisis mode already, right? So I feel like it's going to be a draw.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a little out of. I mean, it would be insane, but it wouldn't be that far fetched. I also feel Morocco should be all right. Now to jump to the next sort of African team, Ivory Coast. They are matched with, again, World Cup royalty, 4-time winners Germany, Curacao, and Ecuador. I mean, this is Germany, of course, we don't need to talk about Germany. 4 times winners, most recent 2014, but they do have a very sketchy recent World Cup record. I mean, Russia 2018 and Qatar 22, but they have, especially under Uli Nagelsmann, have looked better. I mean, they had a strong Euro 24. Even though I felt that they were very unlucky against Spain. Their World Cup qualifying campaign looked a little sketchy, but they got out the other side. Ecuador, solid side, best defensive team in South America, conceded the least goals in qualifying, the least amount of goals in qualifying, I beg your pardon. And then we have the surprise package Curacao, who beat, inverted commas, beat Jamaica to get here. I mean, their story has been absolutely unbelievable. I mean, just as a short comment on this, I always knew CONCACAF qualifying was going to be a little bit crazy this time, considering that there's 6 teams from North America at this World Cup. The 3 of them are the hosts, the big 3, USA, Mexico, Canada. So considering that those places were taken, I think we all knew that CONCACAF qualifying was going to produce some pretty unique and exotic survivors. But I don't think many of us would have predicted Curacao to be here. So then now for Ivory Coast, I mean, very interesting group for them to be in, and especially with their recent form. They've looked a little. They've been some good and some bad. I mean, they had a solid Cup of Nations campaign, quarterfinalists, beat South Korea in the warm-ups, in the friendly games. I mean, they should be all right in this group, should they?
You know what, Tokaziz? I actually rate highly this Ivory Coast team, to be honest. I think people are not giving them much attention compared to like the Senegals, the Moroccos. I feel like this. Yeah, I think this Ivory Coast team, even of course, like I do believe that their quarterfinal and exit to Egypt was kind of disappointing. Look at the squad that Ivory Coast have. It's kind of really good. It's a really solid team with some good blend of young players. I mean, if you look at the defense, it's equally good as Ecuador's defense. Like, let's not forget, Ivory Coast was the team with the least goals conceded in the World Cup qualifying. I think they only conceded 1. If I'm not wrong, I think they conceded only 1. Even though it was a kind of a relatively weak group from Kenya, Lesotho, and Seychelles, but still, I mean, it's a good record. You had Gabon as well. They were competing with them neck and neck. But I think Ivory Coast going to this World Cup, I really have good expectations for them to qualify this group, especially as second place at least. If they could manage to get a result against Germany, that would be even a good bonus. But their most important game is against Ecuador, because, like you said, Ecuador, the team which is very good in the World Cup qualifying. I remember them. They had a very good campaign. The least team that was conceded. I also have a very young squad. Teams that players we're all familiar with them in the top leagues. Even defensively, they have Pacho, Ordinez from Brugge, and Incapi. And you look at Ivory Coast defense, they have Ndika, Kosono, Diamandi. Yeah. So this game is gonna be battle of chess. Who has who outclass the better other in defensive. So if Ivory Coast could get a good result against Ecuador, I think they're assured of making it to the round of the next round. And I think they should get a comfortable result against Curacao. I think. And I think Ivory Coast, for a country like a good footballing nation in Africa, so degraded in football in the recent years, to not make it beyond the group stage in the World Cup is kind of crazy. So I do believe this is the moment for Ivory Coast to make it to the next round. It should, especially with a 48-team tournament. I think it's important, for them to make it to go beyond. And also, let's not forget that Ivory Coast, they had a good run even after the AFCON. Like you mentioned, they defeated South Korea 4-1. They defeated Scotland in Hampden Park, if I'm not actually for Hampden Park. It was in Scotland actually, 1-0. And I remember watching the highlight that Ivory Coast really had much, very good chances to even, to score more than one goal, but it's just the finishing. They didn't have good finishing. So yeah, I think Ivory Coast as a squad, you look at those players they have, blend of experienced players. Frank Kessié, Siko Fofana, Gian Sirif, who's the guardian of this Ivory Coast team from the last time they won the AFCON. You look at the young players that are coming up, like Yao Dimandi from Leipzig, Simon Adringa, who was actually one of the best players in Ivory Coast when they won it. You look at players like Amad Diallo, now a well-known figure. So you can't write off this Ivory Coast team not to go far in this World Cup. I really do believe that people are not giving them much attention, and maybe that could work with in Ivory Coast's favor. You never know. That could actually, sometimes, when your team doesn't have much attention, it might be in your favor to play this World Cup with full of calm and ease and just enjoy the moment. So I do believe Ivory Coast, for me, no doubt, they're gonna represent well Africa in this World Cup. Hopefully, that they could actually go as far as they can.
Yeah, I mean the potential is definitely there. They're up against a Germany team, and just to confess a dirty sin here, I am a bit of a Germany fan. So yeah, it's a Germany team that sorry, it's a Germany team that they're very unpredictable. I mean, it's a Germany team that they could go all the way. The potential's there, but they're also a team that could even get grouped or get in as a wild card in the last 32 and have a nasty last knockout situation. So there's nothing that if Ivory Coast can just get a positive result against Ecuador, then the sky is the limit. The sky is definitely the limit, and they feel they can match Germany man for man and definitely get better results if they can sort of reawaken that German trauma, because Germany have lost some they've lost matches they really felt they should have won. Japan, South Korea, Mexico. Then definitely they'll be in business, and once they get to the last 32, then if they can get a favorable draw, anything is possible, and I feel that will be the aim for them. For a team like you said, like Ivory Coast, who for the last couple of years have been one of the sort of leading lights of African football, to have never been in a knockout stage of a World Cup, it's quite sad. And it's not for the lack of trying. 2010 they came very close, lost out to Portugal on goal difference. 2018 2014.
Also 2014.
Yeah, 2014 against Greece, the last minute penalty, very unfortunate. So I feel that this could be the chance for them to finally break that glass ceiling and make it to the last 32 for the first time, or to the FIFA World Cup knockout stage for the first time. And now to Group F, we jump off to Group F, and this group is dark for the African side. This group is looking dark. You have the Netherlands, probably the best team to have never won a World Cup, 3 times finalists. Japan, arguably the face of the new world giants of world football. Sweden, who they're a good side, but how they got here is incredibly sketchy. And then you have Tunisia, new coach, underwhelming Cup of Nations campaign, solid World Cup qualifying campaign as always, but things have seemingly fallen off a cliff since the World Cup qualifying. Like I said, underwhelming Cup of Nations, new coaching, sketchy build-up, and now you face a pretty strong Dutch side, a re-emerging dangerous Japanese team, and a Sweden team that, although are lacking in form, are still a pretty quality side individually. What are the hopes for the Eagles of Carthage getting out of this group?
Well, Tunisia actually very unfortunate. They always kind of fall in always the toughest groups in the World Cup, and once again they're in a very difficult group. And it was a very bad recent friendly. They lost to Belgium 5-0, and I think even though there were less men down, but I was watching the second half of it. I was like,